This video, I break down my biggest lessons from building from a little market store to a $600 million brand. I'm gonna walk you through my biggest stages of growth and the most important thing I learned from each stage. As I reflect now, that was the game-changing action. If you don't know who I am, my name is Simon Beard. I built Culture Kings from a little market store paying $30 a day rent all the way up to a $600 million valuation and listing on the New York Stock Exchange. And I did this without any loans or investors. I didn't have these connections. I simply started and built brick by brick. This is going to be valuable to you whether you're just starting and building that foundation or you've already built a great business and you're sniffing that exit money. These are the 6 stages. Stage 1, build skills, not passion. A lot of people try and say this really murky advice of like, you gotta follow your passion, you gotta find out what you love. When you're young, you have to build skills that are valuable in the marketplace. I did this first weekend out of the markets. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I brought these consumer electronics from Alibaba and I started at the markets. I was absolutely horrible at selling. I was a stuttering mess, but I learned that I needed to learn these skills of sales to be able to sell this product. And I learned these skills. I did courses, I did training, I practiced on myself. I learned, reflected what I did well, what I did better, and I built these sales skills over time. And a lot of people can look at Culture Kings and look, it happened so fast. When I was at the markets for 7 years before Culture Kings building this sales skill. And what I realized is people were buying this feeling, this state, this emotion. They weren't buying the product. If I could generate it myself and link it to the product, I could create magic. And after I developed and built these skills to a level, I built this certainty and this competence that gave me the confidence when I could see an opportunity that I could seize it. And this is so important. If I didn't have these foundational skills, I never would have been able to seize the opportunity that I did in streetwear. From this 7 years journey at the markets, I was testing a lot of different businesses and every single one of them failed. But in every weekend, starting at the markets at 5 a.m., never missed a day, training that muscle, getting better and better. My next stage was then I was able to stay on trends of culture and technology. Firstly, I was super passionate about streetwear. I was the biggest customer of Karmaloop. That was this online site in America shipping to Australia. But I saw the gap as that when I would go, I remember this day, I went with my mates down to this Pacific Fair shopping center. I was out the front of this general pants store and it made me so wild just looking at the staff thinking, do you know how easy that product is to sell? Those $400 made in Australia Subi jeans. I was so passionate about the product. You would walk in the store and it's the worst ever retail greeting. You would see the low warmth, low confidence greeting. Hey guys, how's it going today? After anything in particular? And it would drive me wild because I knew in sales you needed to come across as high warmth, high confidence, how he had to show his knowledge on the product, how he needed to get him in the change room. And I felt so passionate about it. I was like, just let me on this floor. I could sell these jeans like there's no tomorrow. This is what gave me the confidence, is I know I built that skill and that sales skill. All I needed to do was figure out how to source the product, and I knew my sales skill, I would be able to influence that customer to buy it. And this was the first step, is that I simply saw the opportunity, imported from America at the time, which was started with a Dickies short. All it was a workwear short, and it was a price arbitrage opportunity because they were selling them in surf stores here for $100 and you could buy them at Walmart for $16 and the dollar was parity. I literally went and got my mate to buy them from Walmart, pack up them every week and send them over. And I practiced my sales skills that I built on these consumer electronics and was attaching it to clothing. And once I did that, I could sell them and then slowly build. I didn't focus on the coolest stuff that I wanted to wear. I focused on stuff that I saw a gap in the market from a price arbitrage opportunity. There was an opportunity to actually make a profit and sell it. And it was great product that I could influence with my sales skills. This opportunity happened because of my sales skills, that I had such certainty and congruency in that. I felt at that sales skills that I'd built it to a level is that you could give me a bottle of water and I could just sell it for 50 bucks because of that certainty and congruency that could come through my sales skills. Phase 2, you have to stay on the pulse of changing technology and changing culture. Once I'd got this product market fit at the markets with just this Dickie short, how I was able to expand and grow through these next stages of growth is I was always on the edge of learning about new technology and it was coming out. From the first being on eBay and being a power seller to on Facebook ads in 2010, I was always on the edge of seeing new technology and not just reading about it. I was downloading the app, I was playing with it, I was figuring out how to execute and do it myself. I still do this today with all these AI apps and ChatGPT and everything. Right now, I am a constant user in tinkering, in understanding it from its fundamental of how technology can work together. This can enable you to spot big gaps and opportunities of what you call blue ocean markets that come up. And so for me, what I did is I would block time every week for me to do a cross check of all these websites to get all that knowledge of any changing trends and keep it in uptime. But this is really important. I didn't just go, oh, I'm gonna go on Hypebeast and look around, because this is what a lot of people would do when I would notice, and oh, I'm doing research. You're gonna get lost in the endless clickbait that is on these websites. Block time for research and then set an outcome. I'm gonna find the newest trend in hoodies, or be able to understand the entire market from luxury streetwear and picture where I think the biggest new trend's going. Yes, drop shoulder is going to continue. Yeah, the tan is going to finally phase out and we're going to move to more of these vibrant colors. You need to be able to see those trends and predict. This is where it's so important, is that I would create this whole loop of websites and Instagrams that I would check on, and in a particular order that would enable me to keep all those trends top of mind. That is where I believe was one of my most vital lessons in that next stage of growth, that enabled me to be early on Facebook ads and implement Shopify in 2015, Afterpay in 2016, being one of the first users on Snapchat as a business and how we could leverage it and use all little hacky ways as well, still doing the ads every day through Meta and Facebook and staying up to date with every sort of change of that tech. You have to see where the market's going and get ahead of it. So phase 3 is when you are up to date on all the changing trends in culture and in technology, is that when there's a gap, you need to seize the opportunity. I always would live by the saying, opportunity knocks but once. And when I would get that feeling in my gut, I would not hesitate. I would hunt down the opportunity. And once you get that product market fit, you seize that opportunity with the scale. This is what you have to understand, is once you get that and you get product market fit, your job as the entrepreneur is that you have to work on the biggest problems, the biggest bottleneck in the business, which a lot of the time is not something that you're really good at. So just like for me, as I built my sales skills, I was stuck at the markets for 7 years because I was such a good salesman, but I never learned how to employ someone and unpack out of my mind what I was doing and teach it to them how to do it. That was my biggest mistake, and that's why I was there for 7 years, is because whenever I'd try and hire someone, I'd let them have a go. Oh, you do this spiel. They'd start talking to me. Oh, shut up, you're butchering it, let me do it. And I'd jump in there and do it myself. But this is when I realized if I never unpacked that, if I never got other people to do it, I would always be stuck there at the markets. And this was those phases of growth of building at Coach Kings, is that I realized everything that I did well, I need to unpack it and teach it to people and them do it to their best of their ability. And yes, it's probably not as good as me, but it was still, I could train 20 or 30 and the net result was way better. But instead then I had to do what was actually torture. I had to work on these hardest problems, stuff that I didn't know. I was at a stage of growth. I couldn't hire these A players. I couldn't hire these amazing people to solve it for me. I had to lean into those problems. But in doing that, through that stages of growth, I was able to build that muscle, understand that skill, and then build a way more well-rounded, not only business, but myself overall as a business person, as I was adding those skills that were not my strengths, but I was able to be able to get it to enough level where I could understand it fundamentally and put it together that we could overall build the business. Next stage, play long term. Now you've built an actual business, you've got employees, you're starting to make some money, but do not take your foot off the gas. A lot of us as entrepreneurs won't admit how fragile our businesses are. And as much as you get to a point, especially now with the ever-changing tech world, they are fragile. But this is where you need to reinvest. And so many businesses, just because they take cash out of the business, can undercapitalize it and put it in such a position that they make one mistake that can derail the whole process. I am about playing long-term and discipline, and please don't look at my life now and think this was while running the business, because while running the business, we were 100% reinvesting. We were turning over $50 million. I was doing all the buying, I was doing all the marketing, doing the ads myself, and I was paying myself a $150,000 salary. Even though there's probably 10 million plus in EBITDA there, I was not pulling it out, I was reinvesting it into the next stores, the next fit outs. That's how we did it with no debt and no loans, which enabled us, and always having this solid cash in the bank, is that we could take risks, but as well, we were never betting the farm, is that we had a cash reserve. So if you're on this journey, don't go lease the Mercedes or the R8 straight away. Just reinvest in the brand. Have a solid cash base with no debt, and that is gonna enable you to make the right decisions long term. So once you've got a great profitable business and you think everything's going to the moon, you need to put in an advisory board. I did this in about 2015, and I remember the decision is because I'd seen so many of these successful streetwear brands get to a point, the owner goes in their head, they think their shit doesn't stink, they think everything they make is straight fire, and they can just make that one crucial mistake and send it into a doom loop. And the problem is your team, and because you've got this success, everyone around you can be yes people. They're all like, yeah, that's a great idea, Simon. Yeah, we should put stripper poles in the store. Everyone can reaffirm your decision, which this certainty and confidence you need at the start when no one will believe in you. But this turns the other way when you get bigger. And this is when you need an advisory board that you can have other people, other entrepreneurs in the arena that are taking on real risk, have employees making real decisions that can pitch and catch ideas from, ideally in similar or adjacent industries with similar sort of customer. You'll learn so much from it. Shopify was so good at creating these community events where I could bounce off other really leading Shopify stores at the time. They were my offense side of the advisory board, but also I would have defense, which is more from accountancy, big finance, M&A, that understand this world, have seen a lot more experience and seen things go right and go wrong, and can help you make those right decisions. And look, at the end of the day, it's always your decision. We still owned 100%. I could disagree with everyone and still make the call myself. But what was so good was to pressure test your ideas and understand that we all have blind spots. We all have things we don't know. And to be able to hedge those and unpack those would make such a difference. And you can't do this with your team because they're just going to agree and they're going to be thinking in their best interest. Like imagine if you're talking about, we're going to list or go for sale. They're going to just think, what does this mean for them? At the same time, you can't talk with your family or friends because they're not going to have all the context or knowledge, especially if they're not in the business or in the arena. You need to make sure you have this right advisory board that ideally too is not incentivized on the outcome. Because the second you're going to do a deal, everyone in that circle from those advisors around that part are incentivized on the deal going through, because they're all going to get paid huge off the back end. That is where they're biased and their opinion is biased. This is where if you have your advisory board with a non-biased opinion and you build this up over years, it will make you such a better entrepreneur, so much more well-rounded business person. And I know that was so crucial for me because it saved me so many mistakes and enabled me to keep my ego in check and in control, that I wasn't getting too big for my boots, that I was able to make the right calls, and that built us the whole way up. Once you've got a business with product market fit, you're spitting out profit, I would put that in, because you will just make such better decisions. And when you track back business over long term, it all comes down to the decision making. Now, you don't need this when you're small and you know, when you're just building skills. And this is where I think a lot of people make mistakes. You need a mentor or something to get started. It's like, no, you don't. You just need to go fucking learn how to sell. When you go learn how to code, learn how to plug this together. Just go start and build the skills. But at this other stage, this is where you need to realize that run through wall, make it, find the way, make the way, doesn't necessarily help you at this bigger stage. It's the blind spots that can bring the whole thing come crashing down. But if you want to build a big business, I always bring it back to, you've got to learn how to control your dopamine. You've got to learn how to control it for yourself, and then you can understand how you can leverage it in your business for your customer and your team. Watch this video here. This is where I break down the dopamine and how I used it.